In my previous life, I didn't realize until my dying breath that I was nothing more than the supporting female character in a childhood sweetheart's romance novel. My role was simply to make the male lead recognize his true feelings for the hero and to be part of their emotional game. And when my life finally ended, the male and female leads got their happy ending. When I was reborn, it was back to senior year of high school. The male lead hero, in my last life, had been my husband. Handed me a folded note. Want a date? I volunteer. I took the note without replying. The next day, that same note appeared tucked inside the heroine's English textbook. Fine. You two can have your love story. Before learning the truth in my past life, I had always believed I was happy. Years of marriage. No children. But no pressure from my in-laws and a husband who doted on me. So when I was diagnosed with terminal cancer, it felt as though the sky itself had collapsed. My life had been smooth sailing. Until a single monstrous wave knocked me completely off course. I staggered home clutching the death sentence in my hands. Jensen was on a business trip. The house was silent. Empty. Perhaps it was my mood. But even the air felt cold and hollow. At that moment, all I wanted was family beside me. Yet when I called Jensen, he didn't answer. It wasn't until the third call that someone finally picked up, but the voice on the other end wasn't his. Lyra? It's me, Adana Lal Sai. Serafina. Jensen left his phone in my car. I was just about to drive it back to him when I saw your calls. Thought it might be urgent. So I picked up. I'll tell Jensen to call you when I see him. Okay? I'm driving now, bye. I listened quietly as she chattered on. An inferno of anger pounding in my chest. For years, they called each other siblings. I wasn't allowed to be upset, or I'd be branded petty and jealous. So I played the role of the gentle wife, convincing myself that no marriage is perfect, that compromise is love. But I was dying. Why should I still have to endure? Didn't he say he was on a business trip? What's he doing in your car? Stop using siblings as an excuse for your lack of boundaries. Startled by my outburst, Serafina rushed to explain, but she forgot she was driving. I heard a sharp crash through the receiver. And then the line went dead. The fog in my brain cleared instantly, replaced by fear. Had my call caused an accident? I hated their blurred lines. But the thought of having hurt someone still made me tremble. Later, Jensen finally called back only to lash out the moment I answered. Do you realize Serafina got into a car accident because of your hysterical call? She's got a broken leg and is still under observation. You should be thinking about how to apologize. He didn't ask why I'd been so desperate to reach him. Didn't notice my trembling voice. All he cared about was his ex's injuries. A cruel thought flickered through me. If only she'd been hit harder, then I wouldn't have to see her hanging around married men pretending to be pure. The illusion of a happy marriage tore apart in that instant. I didn't even want to seek comfort anymore. If I was going to die anyway, why keep pretending? So I stopped being the gentle wife. I didn't visit Serafina. I didn't call Jensen again. Ever since the accident. He hadn't come home, probably too busy playing caretaker to his sister. When I went to the hospital for a follow-up, fate decided to mock me. It was the same hospital where Serafina had been admitted. From a distance, I saw them walking together. They hadn't noticed me yet. As I got closer, I overheard her soft, coaxing voice. Jensen, hadn't fulfilled my sigh. You don't need to come to my checkups. You've been taking care of me non-stop, you should go home. He fussed over her like a servant. It's fine. If it weren't for Lyra, you wouldn't have been hurt. I'm doing this to atone for her. I let out a cold laugh. Disgusting. They both froze, turning in surprise. Jensen's brow furrowed. What are you doing here? Visiting Serafina? After all this time, you finally show up. And this is your attitude? I smiled instead of answering. If they'd already thrown away their shame, then I might as well rip off the rest of their masks myself. We were in the hospital payment hall, crowded, echoing. People had already begun to stare. So that's why you haven't been home, I said loudly. You've been with her? Doesn't her boyfriend mind you hovering over her day and night? The bystanders perked up, eyes gleaming with curiosity. Perfect. Let the stars of this little drama have their moment. I'd had enough of mine. Ignoring Jensen's frantic attempts to explain, I turned and walked away, feeling lighter than I had in years. Back home, I made myself dinner. No more cooking to suit Jensen's tastes, just what I wanted. Finally. Freedom had never tasted so good. For years, I'd bitten my tongue, terrified of being called petty or jealous. But speaking the truth wasn't nearly as hard as I'd imagined. The front door opened. Jensen was finally home. And the first thing out of his mouth was a reprimand. You know I've only been taking care of her because of you. Do you realize how much embarrassment you caused today? You'd better apologize after all. We've all been friends for years. Don't you think you've humiliated yourself enough? I stared at him, the man I'd spent years defending. The man I'd built my illusions around. I'd hidden from every sign of betrayal. Desperate to believe in a happiness that never existed. I felt sick. When I didn't respond. He frowned. Why are you smiling? Because I finally saw what a fool I'd been. Soon, when out a low sigh. You'll get what you've always wanted. I said evenly. Isn't Serafina the one you've been longing for? She's single. Isn't she? Go ahead, take her. His face twisted. Embarrassment flashing before he covered it with bluster. Don't be ridiculous. It's just friendship, you're twisting things again. But I didn't back down. My defiance caught him off guard. And for once, he had no comeback. We parted bitterly that night. Strangers sharing a house. The more I thought about it, the angrier I became. Why should they get there happily ever after while I faced death alone? So when a video of our hospital scene surfaced online, I did something uncharacteristic. I paid to promote it. Let the world see their pure love. And they went viral. A tidal wave of outrage followed. Serafina posted a teary video. Half explaining. Half blaming me. Soon the comments turned vicious. So the wife called during the drive and made her crash? And she still dares to criticize? Her husband's just trying to make up for her mistake. What a saint. She's lucky they're not suing her. And she's still bullying them online? Women like this are scary, won't even let their husbands have female friends. Serafina had always known how to manipulate public opinion. Back in school, she'd been the queen of cliques. Now, watching her sob prettily on screen, I felt nauseous for the first time in my life at the sight of beauty. Between the illness and the stress, my condition worsened. Maybe it was the cancer. Or maybe just the countdown of my life ticking louder. When the scandal spread, even my mother-in-law came to talk. She was a kind woman. Truly, but when it came down to choosing sides, she'd always choose her son. So I just sat there quietly, listening. There was nothing left for me to say. I was unmoved by anyone's persuasion, even hoping that the storm would come with greater fury. Life without any grand excitement. So let it end in a grand way. When the public opinion was at its peak, I started a live stream. Countless netizens flooded into the stream. Is she going to apologize? Only now. After all this time? Probably because the public pressure forced her to. Let's see if it's a sincere apology. She caused someone to be cyberbullied. And now that she's being criticized, she's here pretending to apologize. How shameless. I watched as the comments floated by on the screen. Not angry in the least. In fact, I even greeted them with a smile. Because what I was about to witness was how Serafina's actions would backfire on her. I posted some ambiguous chat logs between Jensen and Serafina, along with a recording of the call she had that day, revealing to the netizens how these two half-siblings had interacted over the years. It was a stroke of luck that the phone used for the call that day was a work phone, which had automatic recording set up. Otherwise, I wouldn't have had evidence to bring forward. The screen in the live stream froze for a moment. Then the new round of secretive, speculative discussions began. I continued sharing more chat records from Jensen's phone. Records that definitely crossed the line of friendship. I personally ripped apart the facade of a loving marriage and gave an account of my so-called love and marriage over the years. The one I had been deluding myself with. No matter how Serafina tried to explain herself, no one was listening anymore. The netizens had already branded her as a scheming, green tea type. She went up to the roof to prove her innocence with a suicide attempt. I knew she wouldn't die. She was too skilled at using such tricks to blackmail people. I uploaded my medical records along with a farewell letter. Then made my way to the roof where Serafina was staging her suicide. When she saw me, she started crying, desperately denying that she had ruined anyone's family. But I could see the smugness hid and deep in her eyes. I walked slowly toward her, pretending to pull her back. We tugged back and forth. And then, in front of everyone's eyes, a figure fell from the rooftop. The wind from the rooftop howled past my ears as I saw Serafina's terrified face at the edge of the building. I stared at her intently and mouthed the words, "I will make sure you and your accomplices are spat on by the world, cursed by everyone. With my life hanging by a thread, I would make you suffer eternal damnation." When I opened my eyes again and returned to the classroom of my senior year in high school, I realized I was just a supporting character in a childhood sweethearts novel. In the original story, I was supposed to be at the end of my life, unable to let go of the male lead, and proactively bring the hero and heroine together to complete a beautiful love story. I didn't follow the plot in my previous life. So was I supposed to follow it now? Was the script broken, and I had to live through it all again? I glanced at the note in my hand, then at the boy in front of me, his eyes full of intensity. My fate is in my hands, not in the heavens. I broke free from the script in my past life. And this time, you two are going to be locked down. And stop ruining others. I'm no longer going to be the supporting character. The original plot of the novel was about two childhood sweethearts who loved each other without realizing it, thinking they were just siblings. They later had separate relationships, but their interactions remained blurred. And in the end, when the second female lead was critically ill, they realized their true feelings beside her sickbed. The female lead comforted the male lead, saying, "Even if everyone else leaves you, I'll still be by your side." And the second female lead was relieved that the male lead would have someone by his side for the rest of his life. What a load of nonsense. I'm tearing this script to pieces. Don't worry. I'll deliver your feelings to the female lead. I took the note expressionlessly. And Jensen smiled happily when I took it. Not wanting to keep my eyes on this scumbag any longer, I turned around, thinking I should ask the class teacher to change my seat. Jensen sitting behind me really felt like a thorn in my side, a bone in my throat, a needle in my back. I knew very well that I didn't like Jensen that much. In my previous life, I ended up with him just because his small gestures of kindness had moved me. I'm an orphan, and I cherished other people's kindness, especially under the pressure of the college entrance exams. This sudden love was undoubtedly a comfort for me, who was afraid of failing my exams. At least there was love, even if there was no future. Now that I think about it, I was blind to what was in front of me. There were infinite possibilities in the future. How could an and a love be more important than that? The whole class went on, and I sat up straight, listening attentively. But behind me, Jensen kept poking me with his pen. It was the same as last time. Back then, I thought it was a little sweet gesture between a couple. Now, he was starting to annoy me to no end. "Teacher." I raised my hand to signal the teacher I wanted to speak, but was interrupted. The teacher's face showed no pretense. "What is it?" This was the class teacher's math class. She was famous for her strictness and hated any disruptions in class. To successfully change my seat, I had to give Jensen a little on Edison first. Teacher." Jensen keeps poking me with his pen from behind. It was a pretty new thing to hear a high schooler complain about something like this in class. The whole class turned to look. Jens and didn't expect me to call him out like this. And his face immediately turned red with embarrassment. In the past, Jensen was considered a polite and well-mannered boy in class. So this behavior of poking a female classmate didn't fit with his image as a gentleman. Good. That's exactly the image I want to destroy. It's this image that made people think it was normal for Jensen to take care of Serafina. "He's just a nice guy," they said. "Be sincere in your actions. Don't suppress your true nature. Be bold. Pursue your true love." Jensen was called out in front of the whole class. And for the rest of the lesson, he sat quietly. As soon as the bell rang, he tried to talk to me. But I hurried out of the classroom, chasing after the class teacher. I told the teacher I wanted to change my seat. Seating arrangements didn't change often in our class. But after seeing how Jensen had disturbed me in class, The teacher thought about it for a moment and agreed. The other students can't be moved. But you can sit next to Kale. He's sitting alone. And there's a space next to him. And just like that, I successfully took the first step away from the male lead. On my way back to the classroom, I passed by Serafina's desk and casually slipped Jensen's note into her English book. Changing seats was easy, I simply dragged my whole desk over. My new desk mate, however, wasn't so easygoing. When he came back and saw me sitting there, he gave me a cold, sweeping glance. I was assigned here by the homeroom teacher, I quickly explained. He said nothing. Kale was something of an enigma in our class, aloof and distant, yet he never bullied anyone. He didn't pay attention in class. But he also never disturbed the teacher. Most of the time, he'd fall asleep for an entire period. No one knew where this sleeping god came from. But I knew he was someone remarkable. In my previous life, he was the most successful one among us after the college entrance exams. He went abroad to study and later returned as one of the city's renowned young entrepreneurs. His name even listed on the alumni wall of honor. Right now, though, he was still just a high schooler who slept through English class. He hadn't even bothered to take out his textbook. I, on the other hand, sat upright and proper. In this lifetime, I was determined to study hard and get into a better university. While looking at the blackboard, I caught sight of Serafina from the corner of my eye. She opened her book and paused when she saw the note inside. There was only one line on it, Jensen's signature underneath. As expected, Serafina glanced at Jensen before calmly tucking the note back into her book. So this time, Jensen's little confession had reached its intended recipient. I wondered if the two of them would start their little romance ahead of schedule. I was half listening to the teacher, half observing the situation, when my desk mate suddenly lifted his head. If you can't bear to leave your old desk mate, then why bother changing seats? He said coolly. Why did that sound? Jealous? When I turned, Kale was already watching me, one hand propping up his chin, studying me with mild amusement. Who knew how long he'd been looking? I quickly averted my gaze and refocused on the lesson. Kale gave a soft hum and went back to lying on his desk. What a strange guy. After school, Jensen finally caught up to me. Why did you change seats? He asked. I packed my books slowly. I want to study properly. You were distracting me. He froze. We've always sat together, how was I distracting you? If it's because of the note, you could at least wait until after the exams to give me an answer. What note? I asked, feigning surprise. He clearly hadn't expected that. For a moment, he was speechless, then forced a casual smile. Right. Let's just say it never existed. We'll still be friends. Okay? Everyone in class is my friend, I replied evenly. He looked relieved, as if the problem were resolved. I hated people like that, those who used politeness and easy charm to cover up their ulterior motives. It was only after living another life that I realized Jensen had pursued me in the past simply because Serafina once told him, Lyra's the kind you should marry, she has no family, and she'll make a gentle, devoted wife. That single comment had dragged me straight into their tangled love story. I had already avenged myself in my previous life. Whatever debts or grudges we had were settled. In this life, as long as they didn't bother me, we could pretend to be strangers. But despite that, I was still called into the teacher's office over a puppy love issue. Jensen and Serafina were there too. The homeroom teacher looked stern. You're all in your final year of high school. Falling in love now is the worst decision you could make. Do you think romance will get you into college? Secure your future? I lowered my head, listening silently as he lectured. Before long, soft sobbing broke the tension. Serafina. Of course. She always knew how to play the helpless victim. Teacher. It really wasn't me. She sniffled. I don't know how that note ended up in my book. The teacher's eyes flicked to Jensen. The note was signed by him, he couldn't deny it. What about you? Jensen? Explain. Naturally. Jensen couldn't stand to see Serafina upset. He immediately took the blame. I wrote it, but it wasn't meant for Serafina. As he said this, he darted a quick glance at me. The teacher's gaze followed his. Jensen says it was for you. Lyra. is that true? Both of them were staring at me. I could tell Jensen suspected I'd switched the note, but there was no way to prove it. As long as I denied it, no one could force me to admit anything. What note? I asked, blinking innocently. I must have looked so confused. Like some bystander who'd accidentally walked into the wrong scene. Jensen was stunned. The teacher's expression hard, and he clearly thought Jensen was trying to drag an innocent girl into trouble. Jensen, he said sharply. You'd better explain yourself. Jensen panicked. Teacher. It really was for Lyra. I don't know how it ended up in Serafina's book. Serafina had nothing to do with it. But I wasn't about to let him have his way. When the teacher turned back to me, I looked up, eyes red with tears. Teacher, teacher. You know I'm an orphan. I said softly. The college entrance exam is my only hope. How could I fall in love now? And I don't even like Jensen. He always pokes me with his pen during class, that's why I asked to change seats. The more I spoke, the more aggrieved I sounded. The teacher believed me instantly. Waving for me to go. All right. Go back to class before you cry the whole office into a flood. I wiped my tears and left, leaving behind two lovebirds caught lying and in trouble. Later, I heard the teacher even called their parents. Well, good for them, they got to meet the parents early this time. Let them tangle in their drama. I had no interest in joining their little love tragedy again. But something had changed between them that year. Serafina had always treated Jensen as her backup plan. In my previous life, she only returned to him after her rich boyfriend refused to marry her. Now, since she hadn't yet found her ideal man, there was no way she'd settle for Jensen so soon. And because I hadn't taken the blame for their puppy love, she started targeting me instead. Her specialty had always been forming little cliques and turning people against others. That evening, it was my turn to clean the classroom. The cleaners had to stay behind to lock up, so I was the last one left. Just as I was about to pack up and leave, the lights went out. The empty campus after night study was eerily quiet. The kind that made your imagination run wild. The faint light from the distant street lamps spilled weakly through the window. The back door was locked from the inside, so I had to leave through the front. Just as I reached for my bag, the front door creaked open without wind. Without warning, the sound of the hinges echoed sharply through the empty room. Instinctively, I turned and ran for the back door. But when I pulled at the latch, it wouldn't budge. A rush of fear flooded my chest. And then the front door slammed shut. The sound reverberated through the darkness. I'd lived through death once already, but moments like this still terrified me. The only way to deal with fear was to break it. So I grabbed the nearest chair and hurled it at the back door. A loud clang broke the fear in my heart, followed by a surprised shout. Only then did I realize someone was outside. And it was a girl. What are you doing? Kale's voice came from outside. How did he show up? This was supposed to be a two-person duty shift. And he'd been too lazy to show up until now. Was he here to check our work? The back door opened. And Kale stood outside. The green light from the fire alarm illuminating his face, making him look like a mysterious figure from a movie. Emerging from the darkness, the sound of hurried footsteps echoed. And as I went out, I only saw a few figures running up the stairs. How could you let them run? I asked angrily. He entered and turned on the circuit breaker at the back of the classroom, instantly lighting up the room. Are you stupid? The switch is right inside. You couldn't even turn it on yourself? Me. Wasn't I just scared and forgot about it? What if someone else had played a prank on me? Why are you here? I locked the door and followed him downstairs. He was quite tall, and even after stepping down to stairs, he was almost as tall as me walking behind. His figure somehow gave me a sense of security. I heard his lazy voice from ahead. I suddenly remembered it was my duty today and came back to lock the door. I rolled my eyes. Remembered it at night and came all the way to the classroom? How casual. This matter wouldn't just end like this. It was the first time I encountered something like this. Thinking back, I already knew who was behind it. Recently, I had conflicts with Jensen and Serafina. And I heard a woman's voice that day more than one person. Who else but Serafina's little clique? Don't forget, the corridor outside the classroom had cameras. Serafina was called into the teacher's office again for tea. Facing the teacher, Serafina continued to argue. It wasn't me. Just because it sounds like me doesn't mean it's me. Maybe Lyra offended someone else. Her friends also denied it, stubbornly sticking to their stories. In the dark, it was hard to make out faces. But they were just stubbornly lying. The teacher saw through it and scolded them harshly. No harm had been done, so the matter was resolved with a reprimand. Back in the classroom, Serafina still arrogantly raised her eyebrows, as if daring me to do anything. So childish. Honestly, hadn't fulfilled my answer. I just wanted to study. But there were always people getting in my way. Kale, who had witnessed the whole scene, found it amusing. Looking at the girls arguing, he smirked. You girls really know how to stir things up. What do you mean? We girls stir things up? I was so angry. It wasn't me causing trouble. It was them bullying me for no reason. I thought I had cleared the line between me and the main characters. But I hadn't expected the petty-minded female lead to start holding a grudge against me. Seeing me fuming, Kale leaned over and arrogantly said, Hey. If you ask me, I'll help you sort this out. I was surprised. Aren't you supposed to have that cool and distant persona? Why are you being so kind all of a sudden? He shifted his gaze to the side. If you want help, just ask. It's for you, it's for you. Since you're my desk mate. I eyed him suspiciously, watching him squirm until his ears turned red. It was like discovering a new continent. I leaned closer to him. You wouldn't be. He jumped up as though his secret had been exposed. Don't talk nonsense. I smirked. You're the type of guy who's cold on the outside, but warm on the inside. Aren't you? You're actually really kind, but too shy to speak up. A cold-faced guy with a soft heart. Kale suddenly let out a long breath, then turned his head and lay down, pretending to sleep and ignoring me. The issue was quickly settled with the teacher's intervention. After hearing about it, Jensen actually had the nerve to come and defend Serafina. Even though you gave her a label of early romance in the office, she's a kind-hearted person and wouldn't do something like that. I sneered. Wouldn't do it? Are you guaranteeing that? If you weren't guilty, why would you come to act as her messenger? Also, how can you, the instigator, come here pretending to be morally upright? You wrote the note, right? The teacher called you to the office, right? The parents were contacted by the teacher, right? No. I only asked her because I saw she was in a bad mood recently. Jensen quickly explained for his crush. I just didn't want her to be misunderstood. You clearly knew what the note was about. She had no idea and was innocent. Discussing whether his beloved was kind-hearted or not with him was a complete waste of my time. Enough talking. Leave. I need to study. Jensen, whatever low sigh, who cared so much about his image, was driven away by a single leave. Finally, no one bothered me. And I could study in peace. I had finally found a quiet place to study. And here comes Jensen, ruining my mood. So annoying. I refocused my thoughts. Next week's mock exam. I wanted to do better this time. I hadn't noticed that someone upstairs had witnessed everything. The school's mock exam was also tied to rankings and scholarships. Private schools rely on scholarships to attract students, which was also why I could attend this school. In my past life, I could have done well on the exam. But because I was caught up in early romance with Jensen, I ended up in an average school. Later, Serafina, who studied the arts, flaunted her success at a class gathering. Grades don't represent everything. Some people do well in school, but in the end, they still end up in a regular school. At that time, Serafina, an art student, had already built herself a reputation as a talented young woman and was somewhat famous online. As for me, after marriage, I had almost completely become a housewife. Now, I was going to take everything back. The seating for the mock exam was randomized. And when I sat down, Serafina was next to me. Enemies meeting always causes sparks. Serafina shot me a harsh glare and deliberately whispered to the person beside her, covering her mouth and occasionally sneaking glances at me with a smug smile. This kind of petty trick she was well practiced at, but I wasn't a teenager anymore. And I wasn't going to be bothered by such a childish scheme. The 2-day exam passed quickly. And the teacher graded the papers just as fast. The rankings were out soon. I looked at my results. Not bad. Though I had been away from high school for many years after being reborn. I had been reviewing hard recently. Quickly catching up with the curriculum. My current state was almost the same as when I was in my last year of high school before the romance began. I had thrown myself into studying with everything I had. And naturally, the results reflected that. I ranked in the top 10 of the entire grade. Our school offered generous scholarships for the top 10. And I was overjoyed. But that happiness didn't last long. The homeroom teacher called me into the office again. He pulled out several sheets of scrap paper. Are these yours? I blinked. Teacher. What's wrong? He simply gestured for me to take a look. Still confused. I picked up the papers. All students used the same type of scratch paper, only the handwriting could tell them apart. And yes, they were mine. They contained problem-solving steps from my usual practice. A few vocabulary words. Nothing more. Just a handful of messy draft pages. The homeroom teacher sighed once I confirmed it. Someone reported you for cheating. These were found under your exam seat. Reported me for cheating? Because of these? Teacher. Not only do these sheets have nothing to do with the exam material, but if someone were going to cheat, who would use huge pieces of scratch paper? The teacher looked helpless. I believe you. But the report went straight to the principal's office. And there's more than one accuser. At that moment, I suddenly remembered Serafina's expression before the exam. Thinking back on it now, that smile hadn't been kind at all. Teacher. I really didn't cheat. How can these few sheets be used to convict me? I would never accept such a stain on my name. I wanted to live cleanly. Why should I silently swallow someone else's mud? Was it Serafina who reported me? The teacher knew about the conflict between us and trusted me enough to promise he would speak to the school again. When I returned to the classroom, the first thing I saw was Serafina's arrogant little glance, followed by the giggles of her clique. In this life, I had already decided not to settle the debts of my past life on her head. But now that she refused to let go, she was the one provoking my anger. I grabbed the water bottle on my desk and marched straight over to pour it over her face. Several girls screamed at my sudden action. Serafina forgot all about her gentle goddess persona and shrieked, "Lyra, are you insane?" Our classmates immediately swarmed around us. Since I hated going to the drinking fountain at the end of the hallway, I always used a huge bottle perfect for giving Serafina a full rinse. She was drenched from head to toe. It was a rare sight to see the class goddess like this. And everyone wore the expression of someone watching a juicy drama unfold. Serafina. I said. Boy, steady. Jensen's love note last time was between you and him. Go scold him. And the prank you pulled on me after evening study? The teacher already talked to you privately. So I let it go. But now you keep coming after me again and again. Don't you think that's too much? Trying to frame me for cheating with a few scrap papers. You're really something. You knew I rely on the scholarship and still aimed for that. I didn't give her any face. The previous incidents had all been handled quietly, so no one knew about them. Now, hearing something this explosive, the class whispered nonstop. Serafina had crafted her perfect image too well so naturally. When it collapsed spectacularly. I didn't expect Serafina to be this kind of person. People even praise her for being kind. Someone muttered. Serafina heard it too. Flushed with humiliation, she shoved me weakly. You're lying. I didn't. Such a feeble denial convinced no one. I already knew the scholarship was probably gone. With several people reporting me and so-called evidence, the school was bound to act. Sure enough, the homeroom teacher later told me that although he believed me, the school had decided to invalidate my ranking. In other words, the exam didn't count for me. The school was wealthy, and the scholarship amount was substantial. For someone with no income like me, losing that money was a huge blow. The more I thought about it, the angrier I became, to the point where even Jensen's fake concerned face irritated me. This round doesn't count, he said gently. Work hard next time. You always do so well, you'll get an even better score. I stared at him expressionlessly. wondering what nonsense he would spout next. Then he said, "Serafina didn't mean to. She probably just acted impulsively. She didn't expect the consequences to be so serious." I almost laughed. "Not on purpose? She stole my scratch papers. Slipped them under my exam desk. Teamed up with others to report me to the principal, and you call that not on purpose? What was it then? Sleepwalking? Possessed by an evil spirit?" After the water throwing incident, some students had already begun whispering about Jensen. Now, hearing my blunt accusation, even more people looked at him with disdain. Privately, many speculated that Jensen and Serafina were targeting me because of some love triangle drama. Their evidence? I had tattled on Jensen in class before and then switched seats clearly to stay away from whatever mess they were in. And the way things unfolded later only reinforced those suspicions. I was, indeed, the target. Jensen, who had been whispering beside me, couldn't stand being stared at anymore. He ducked his head and hurried away. A small bit of anger dissipated in my chest. I felt lighter. At that moment, my cold on the outside, fiery on the inside desk mate leaned over. "Want revenge? I'll help you," he said. I eyed the rarely awake sleep god. "Help me how? Drag them into a bathroom and beat them up?" Rumor had it that Kale was aloof and untouchable. Someone had once tried to mess with him and ended up getting pinned down and punched. Ever since then no one dared provoke him. And he wandered the school freely. He snorted. "I'm not some brainless brute. Just watch. Your desk mate will show you how to deal with wicked people." We sat in the back row like two delinquent students plotting revenge. Of course I didn't ambush anyone. And Kale didn't lay a hand on anyone either. Just when I thought the whole mess had ended with both sides wounded, Serafina's parents marched her over to apologize to me. Since being reborn, I'd practically become a regular in the teachers' offices. One time, I was called into a reception room. There were already several people inside, the grade director, even the principal. The homeroom teacher motioned for me to come over. "These are Serafina's parents." I looked at the middle-aged couple. Serafina stood beside them, wilted and resentful. The moment I walked in, the middle-aged man grabbed her arm. "Apologize to your classmate." Then he turned to me. "Lyra, I'm sorry. My daughter is spoiled at home. She acted willfully and did wrong. I've told her to apologize to you." Even her own father had apologized. And under the pressure of her parents' gaze, Serafina reluctantly lowered her head. "I'm sorry. I misunderstood, Lyra. I acted impulsively and caused you trouble. I apologize." To be honest, having the villain apologize like this was already a good outcome. But seeing that Serafina made a mistake and still had her parents backing her up was truly enviable. The homeroom teacher signaled to me from the side, and I reluctantly accepted her apology. However, I didn't take their offer of compensation and not one to accept pity or favors. Besides, Serafina's money isn't that easy to take, and I was worried she might use it as an excuse to target me again. The homeroom teacher said this matter was settled, and advised me to focus on studying and aim for a better score next time. I was curious about how Serafina came to apologize with her parents in tow, but the teacher said he wasn't sure either. He was only informed by the principal. Since it was something coming from the top leadership, I didn't press further. I was just a student. All I needed to focus on was my own studies. Back in the classroom, my desk mate raised an eyebrow. "So, how was it? I told you I'd get your revenge." This time, I was truly shocked. I never expected it to be his doing. "It was you? How did you manage that?" I couldn't help my curiosity. He didn't give off the air of a rich heir from a powerful family. Besides, I'd seen his interview in my past life, where he claimed he came from an ordinary family. Kale grinned and explained how he pulled it off. Turns out, Serafina's parents worked for a company owned by one of the school's board members. Her father was at a crucial point in his career, about to be promoted. Kale had leaked information about Serafina bullying classmates to her father's rival. As a result, her father was pushed out by a narrow margin, with his rivals using the excuse that he couldn't even manage his own child to imply flaws in his leadership and character. Although her father lost the promotion, he had to regain his image and preserve future opportunities. So he pressured Serafina into apologizing. I looked at Kale in astonishment. No wonder he managed to build a successful business empire in his past life. His schemes were as clever as they were ruthless. I had to wonder if I had ever crossed him. After explaining, Kale smirked, clearly enjoying my reaction. "Aren't you going to thank me?" I replied. "Thank you. Honestly." I didn't dare say more, afraid of offending him. He raised an eyebrow. "Just a verbal thank you? What else do you want? You know I don't have money." He shrugged. "Well, you can't tutor me. The college entrance exam is coming soon. And I need to study harder." Me. I remembered in my past life. He hadn't even attended university in the country. But I didn't dare say much. I just nodded and agreed to tutor this future mogul. Not long after, Serafina transferred to another school. It made sense. She had embarrassed herself so much here that her image was beyond saving. She had no choice but to go somewhere else and play the goddess role again. As for Jensen, true to his role as the loyal childhood friend, he transferred with her. Before he left, he came to find me. "I know it's because of you that Serafina transferred. Are you happy now?" His tone seemed to blame me. I looked at him. "If you're going to put it that way. The real spark that started it all was still you. And you're the lucky one who slipped through the cracks." I didn't know what Serafina had said to Jensen. But when he heard my words, he stepped back in fear and didn't dare say anything further before leaving. I had a feeling Serafina was behind the scenes trying to smear me again. Without these two troublemakers in the class, the air was much fresher. I successfully made it through to the college entrance exams. And when the results came out, I had scored high enough to get into my dream university. Kale, who had actually taken the exam seriously, scored higher than me and applied to the same university. I looked at Kale, who had come to pick up his admission letter. "So, with all your talents, why did you still need me to tutor you?" Kale grinned widely, flashing a set of white teeth. "University classmates, please take care of me." As we spent more time together, I started to feel as though we were just really close friends. Later, we became university classmates. The more time we spent together, the closer we got. And eventually, we even followed the latest trends. From school uniforms to wedding dresses. I asked him. "So, you must have had a secret crush on me, right? How else do you explain you sticking with me after becoming my desk mate?" He dropped his usual cool, aloof persona and snuggled into my arms, playfully pouting. "How about we go back to high school and take a set of school uniform and wedding photos? Is this how free-time entrepreneurs are spending their days now? Even I, a regular office worker, have to squeeze time out to take wedding photos. And you have time to do a whole bunch of different styles of photo shoots." I had been secretly dating my brother's best friend for 5 years. And we were planning to announce it officially on New Year's Eve. But at the banquet, he didn't mention it at all. Instead, he leaned close to my ear and half-jokingly said, "I'm tired of sleeping with you. Marry someone else. Okay?" I calmly nodded and agreed. Because in my previous life, I begged him with tears, swearing I wouldn't marry anyone but him. After marrying him as I wished, he became cold and indifferent, even closing his eyes during intimacy. When I suffered a massive hemorrhage during childbirth, he didn't care at all. He was celebrating his birthday with his first love at Disneyland. At that moment, I finally understood. Love begged for is doomed to fade. Reborn. I smiled and said, "I'm tired of you too. Let's break up." Hearing those words from my mouth, Rian was stunned, thinking he misheard. I, who used to explode at the slightest trigger, suddenly became obedient. He reined in his joking tone and looked at me seriously. "Nina, do you know what I just said?" I still wore a calm and carefree smile. "Yes, head in Xianxia. You said I should marry someone else. Right? In the past life. If he said anything to upset me, I would scratch him wildly like a crazy cat until he apologized. But this time, I chose to let him go and free myself." Ryan frowned. "Nina, what's wrong with you today?" Before he could finish, the sound of breaking glass came from the next table. Then, "Run out Omosai." A white figure disappeared crying through the door. The nearby people glanced over. My brother Evan elbowed Ryan. Isn't the one who threw the glass your ex? Did you call her here today? It's New Year's. No smashing things allowed. Could it be because of you? Ryan's handsome brows furrowed even deeper as he strode outside. Seon let out a low sigh. The crying softened into whispers like a couple's intimate conversation. The dishes kept coming. And I ate inferiorly. I used to always put some food in Ryan's bowl every time a dish arrived. That's been my habit since I met him. His work calls often interrupted meals. And whenever I showed such care, my brother would get jealous. Wow. You're feeding Ryan again? You're not this attentive to your brother. I've known for a while you like that guy Ryan. Don't you? Several times. I almost spilled the truth. But Ryan would immediately pull away and treat me like a little sister. Ruffling my hair and laughing. Saying I'm his sworn sister. That's when I understood. He didn't want to make our relationship public. For 5 whole years. He never posted anything about me on social media, and not even posts visible only to me. He seemed unwilling to leave any trace that we once loved. But because I loved him so desperately, I kept hiding in the shadows. Seeing me quietly eating, my brother teased. Why don't you go check on your Ryan? Be careful he runs off with another girl. My hand paused, holding chopsticks. If he runs off with another girl, what's that got to do with me? As his sworn sister, there's no need for me to bother him. My brother looked at me seriously, as if trying to read something on my face. Today was Ryan's birthday. We had agreed to announce our relationship today, but I didn't expect him to bring his first love Daisy. Then Ryan and Daisy came back. Daisy's eyes were red, as if she had just been crying. Ryan held her hand and comforted her from time to time. My brother whistled. Ryan. Daisy. Are you two getting back together? Ryan suddenly looked at me, panic flashing in his eyes. Don't talk nonsense. She's just an old classmate. I was checking on her. My brother shamelessly butted in. I'm your old classmate too. Can you check on me? Ryan laughed and pushed him away. Go away. Seeing Daisy cling to him, I pulled my brother aside. Big brother. Don't disturb second brother and sister Daisy's time alone. Go eat your meal. Then I smiled brightly at Ryan. You agree, don't you? Second brother? Ryan was stunned by that title. He looked at me meaningfully but said nothing and saw Daisy off. Once they left, gossip buzzed around. I told you first love hits hard. Look at their interaction tonight, they're probably getting back together. Exactly. Back then Daisy needed a kidney transplant urgently due to renal failure. Ryan gave her his kidney without hesitation. And before she recovered, he was already at the hospital caring for her. He gave half his life to her. Now that Daisy's back in the country, they'll never part again. Listening to this, my heart ached so badly I could barely breathe. Their fates had long been intertwined. Only I was a fool, maintaining a secret relationship with him. In my last life, after marrying Ryan, everything changed drastically. He stopped touching me. We slept in separate rooms, and even used separate chopsticks for meals. Only when his parents pressured us to have a child did he reluctantly hold me to get the job done. That night, he asked to turn off the lights and kept his eyes closed, as if utterly ashamed. The next day, he spent the night at Daisy's house and didn't return. One winter, I had the flu and was weak in bed. I wanted him to take me to the hospital, but he impatiently refused, citing overtime work. Instead, he accompanied Daisy to a nail salon, where the staff praised them as a loving couple. When I went into labor and was bleeding heavily at home, I called him crying. He finally snapped. It's just giving birth, not dying. What's there to cry about? Take a taxi to the hospital yourself. I'm busy. Bye. Before I could say more, he hung up. When I called again, the phone was off. Meanwhile, Daisy's social media was flooded with 8 consecutive posts of Ryan celebrating his birthday with her at Disneyland. Every photo's centerpiece was Ryan and Daisy kissing. At that moment, I lost all will to live. Ryan, if you don't love me, what use is this child to me? I cut off all hope, threw my phone out the window, and watched the blood spread. I died from blood loss. Yet Ryan still thought I was acting. At the birthday party, without Ryan, Everyone quickly went their separate ways. I left early. Completely disinterested. Ryan, who usually sent me a message every 3 minutes, was surprisingly silent tonight. Outside, the fireworks welcomed the new year, but I felt no joy. At midnight, fireworks lit up the window. Ryan, who rarely posted on social media, suddenly updated. The photo showed Daisy leaning on his shoulder, sleeping peacefully and obediently. The caption read only one word: her. Within a minute, the comments flooded in. Congrats 99. Happy wedding. Wish you 100 years of happiness. I casually liked a post, but after refreshing, it disappeared from my Moments feed. The next second, Daisy messaged me. Ryan walked me home, and I accidentally fell asleep on his shoulder. It was too late, and I didn't feel comfortable letting him leave. So I let him stay over at my place first. You won't mind, right? I replied lightly with, From now on, whatever Ryan does with whoever, it's none of my business anymore. Just as I was about to sleep, Ryan also sent me a message. Wait. Are these two already synced to this extent now? Daisy just came back to the country recently. Didn't buy any new clothes for the new year. And you have some new ones, right? Let her borrow some tomorrow. The mall is closed. Afraid there won't be time to buy. Seeing this message, my already sour mood instantly plummeted. The new clothes I bought myself, I haven't even worn once. But I have to give them to the person he loves the most? What am I to him? I sulkily didn't reply and just turned off my phone. Unexpectedly, early the next morning, Ryan showed up at my door with Daisy. At 10 a.m. Ryan rang my doorbell. My brother went to open the door and saw Ryan and Daisy standing outside with a bunch of gifts. Everyone but me happily welcomed them in. Ryan had lost his parents since childhood and was raised by his grandmother. Our families are neighbors, and my parents had long treated him as half a son. After Ryan entered, he gave me a deep look. My mom smiled and said to Daisy, "You must be Ryan's girlfriend, right? Haven't seen you in years, you've gotten so pretty." "Thank you, Auntie. It's been years. And you haven't changed. Still so youthful." Daisy was really good at talking. And with a few words, my parents were charmed and couldn't stop smiling. "Nina, what are you dawdling in your room for? Come greet your Ryan brother and Daisy sister." I obediently poured tea for Ryan and Daisy and respectfully said, "Second brother, Daisy sister, Happy New Year." Ryan's expression toward me became even stranger. When I went to the bathroom, he suddenly messaged me, "What are you sulking about?" I read it but didn't reply. At lunch, we had a small awkward moment about seating. I sat in my usual seat, but Ryan silently sat next to me. That was my brother's spot. My brother looked at Ryan taking his seat, then glanced at the empty seat beside Daisy. Eyes wide. "Hey. What are you doing stealing my seat? Go sit next to your girlfriend." He pulled Ryan up. After some minor bickering, Ryan ended up sitting across from me. But once he sat down, I felt like sitting on pins and needles. He looked at me intently. I looked away and quietly ate. Halfway through, he took a phone call. Seeing the small bowl in front of him empty, I swallowed my food and chose to ignore it. When he came back, he deliberately looked at the small bowl and then at me. My brother noticed and quickly explained, "We're family. No one's fighting over food. Don't make things hard for Nina." At that moment, my mom glanced at Ryan, then at me, her gaze ambiguous. Suddenly she called my name at the table, "Nina. Look. Your Ryan brother even brought his girlfriend home this year. When do you plan to bring a boyfriend home for us to meet?" Ryan opened his mouth as if to say something. I cut him off. "If Mom, Dad, or my brothers have any introductions, feel free to recommend someone to me." Usually, I would refuse such questions outright. Seeing me change my tone, my brother was so moved he teared up. He patted my shoulder hard. "Nina, you finally got wise. As long as you want to find someone, I'll arrange a handsome guy to meet you right after dinner." I laughed and said yes, glancing subtly at Ryan. But his lips tightened, and his face darkened. As everyone joked and laughed, He suddenly interrupted. Auntie. Don't joke around. Daisy is just an old classmate of mine. My mom froze. And Daisy's smiling face instantly stiffened. My brother. Always stirring things up. Chimed in. So you're still single? How about I introduce you to Nina? Hearing this, my already anxious heart sank to the bottom. Ryan immediately pushed my brother away. Cut it out. Nina is my sister. The tension finally broke. I took a deep breath and forced out a natural smile. Exactly. Brother. Don't say nonsense. Ryan is my second brother. After dinner, Ryan took Daisy away, and we didn't contact each other for the next few days. I ate and drank as usual and eagerly joined a class reunion. On the evening of the 5th day of the Lunar New Year, my brother had a class reunion. Seeing I had no plans, he insisted I go. I went to bed early and refused to go. He said, "Tonight is a critical moment in your second brother's life. As his sister, you must witness it." Only when we arrived at the reunion did I realize. Daisy planned to confess her wish to get back together with Ryan that night. According to them, since Daisy's return to the country, their relationship visibly heated up, and the chance of reconciliation was very high. A classmate working at a jewelry store said Ryan went there the day before to pick out a ring. It's almost definitely for Daisy. I know most of my brother's classmates. When they saw me, many greeted me warmly and complimented me on how much prettier I looked, jokingly telling me to pick a single guy from the crowd. I laughed and mingled with them. Ryan watched quietly from afar without saying a word. Before dinner started, Daisy called me aside. Nina. I know Riot reads you well. And he's willing to listen to whatever you say. So when I confess later, can you say a few good words for me on the side? That way, our chances of getting back together will be even higher. Daisy looked gentle on the surface, but was filled with wicked intentions inside. She knew I liked Ryan. But because he refused to make it public, I had no choice but to keep silent. She just wanted to use my love for Ryan as a weakness to hurt me badly. But Daisy didn't know. After the last life I went through, I was completely done with him. So I gave her an even brighter smile. Sure. Don't worry. I'll definitely cheer for you guys. Daisy sneered and returned to the private room. At the dinner table, Ryan suddenly started feeding me food crazily. Just like I used to do for him. When the waiter brought a new dish of clay pot chicken, and he picked up a piece to put in my bowl, I reached out and blocked it. Smiling. Second brother. I've grown up. I can serve myself now. You give it to Daisy's sister. The chicken piece awkwardly hung in midair. Daisy saw it, picked up the bowl, and accepted it. Ryan brother. Maybe there are single ladies here who like Nina. You don't have to worry so much. At that moment, everyone at the table suddenly stood up and toasted Daisy, welcoming her back to the country. Just as Daisy raised her glass, Ryan snatched it. Daisy gets drunk easily. This glass, adding fulfilled website. I'll drink it for her. He drank it all in one gulp. Everyone applauded and cheered. I watched Ryan drink glass after glass. His face gradually flushed with a rosy tint. Daisy reached out to stop him. Her voice soft enough to melt hearts. Ryan? You don't have to drink so much for me. I wasn't sure if Ryan was actually drunk. He looked at Daisy. His expression gentle. It's okay. You can't handle alcohol. They're clearly bullying you. His words caused a stir around us. I knew Ryan's life was about to reach a critical moment. Daisy's cheeks flushed pink. Her red lips parted softly. Ryan. After all these years, I still can't forget you. Let's get back together. Okay? Say yes. Say yes. Everyone started cheering. Ryan paused, clearly not expecting the situation to unfold this way. The atmosphere was perfectly set. The hero and bravely confessed her love, only needing the hero's nod to confirm. A much-anticipated romance, a perfect couple, was about to be born. Watching them under the spotlight, I clapped and shouted. Daisy is such a devoted and beautiful girl. Ryan. Aren't you going to say yes? Ryan stared at me in shock. Nina. What the hell are you doing? Aren't you my boyfriend? Why are you encouraging her? The room immediately fell silent. My brother was the first to react, looking shocked as he glanced between Ryan and me. Mina. What did he call you? Girlfriend? I smiled calmly. Bro. Didn't you see Ryan was drunk? He was just messing around. Ryan looked displeased. Pushed Daisy aside. And walked toward me. I stepped back. Just then, the sound of a glass shattering came from behind. Ryan turned around in panic and rushed over. Daisy's calf had been cut by broken glass. A bloody wound stark against her pale skin. Ryan's brows furrowed in worry as he immediately scooped her into his arms. But Daisy gave me a side glance. Pouting as she clung to Ryan's neck. Ryan, hadn't fulfilled Ryan's sigh. So many people are watching. Put me down quickly. Otherwise, people will misunderstand our relationship. Mina doesn't look well. Don't you want to check on her? Daisy's voice was neither too loud nor too soft but just enough to reach my ears. She deliberately said this to lure Ryan into publicly clarifying their relationship. Unexpectedly, Ryan kept a serious face and said nothing. He just glanced at me briefly before telling Daisy. Ignore her. I'll take you to the hospital first. With that, he carried Daisy out of the private room. As soon as they left, my brother eagerly came over to gossip. Ryan can drink 1,000 cups and not get drunk. Spill it. What's going on between you two? Thinking of my brother's big mouth, I chose to keep things from him. I shook my head. Nothing's going on. Maybe Daisy just surprised him and he's a bit caught off guard. My brother wanted to ask more, but I waved him off and dodged the topic. I never should have come to this reunion. After finishing the meal, I found an excuse to leave, walking alone on the street. Everywhere I looked were pairs or groups. Faces glowing with happiness. Clustered together setting off fireworks. Suddenly, I felt this new year was pretty meaningless. I quickened my pace, planning to go home, wash up, and sleep. Just as I neared my building, Ryan appeared. I hurried inside but he blocked my way first. I tried to dodge, but he forcibly pulled me into his arms. If it weren't for living through this life again, maybe I would have craved this warmth, would have leaned on him and cried. But this time, I coldly pushed him away. Ryan, this is downstairs at my home. What if my parents see us and misunderstand? He froze. Then slowly withdrew his hand. Sometimes I don't understand if he dislikes me so much. Why is he still with me? He asked sharply. What's wrong with you today? Why are you making fun of me with those people? I shrugged inferiorly. What's wrong? Daisy still can't forget you after all these years. And you once risked your life for her. I think you two suit each other. Getting back together makes sense. I spoke honestly, having fulfilled my ancestor. But Ryan heard it differently. He surprisingly smiled a little. What about you? Have you forgotten who you are? Who said I was close with any other girl? Ryan. I looked him straight in the eye, speaking slowly and clearly. We're already broken up. That finally made Ryan panic. Who said we broke up? I don't allow that. Allow what? Before I could answer, my brother's loud voice came from behind. I turned around, smiling and explaining. Ryan wanted to give Daisy a ring. So he came to ask me what kind of style girls like. He said if I didn't answer seriously, he wouldn't let me go home. Ryan's face instantly darkened. He grabbed my arm, about to say something, but my brother interrupted. If you're giving it to her, go ask her yourself. Why ask my Nina? Or do you want to give Nina a ring? Hearing that, man blushed. I pried his fingers off my arm one by one. If you're sure about getting back with Daisy, then go find her. She hurt her leg and needs care. Nina, do you even know what you're saying? Who said I'm getting back with her? Ryan raised his voice, drawing attention from passersby. I thought. Seriously, Ryan. Why are you acting crazy? Whether you get back with Daisy or not is between you two. Why take it out on Nina? Seeing Ryan still ready to argue, I nudged my brother. It's freezing. Let's go inside. As soon as I got home, barely having taken off my shoes, Ryan called. I hung up immediately. He kept calling. Finally, heading to Phil Bryabsai. He sent a message. What time are you sleeping? I'm coming over later. I have a lot to say. Can we talk? I didn't want to get tangled up with him again. So I turned off my phone. But just as I turned off the light to sleep, Someone knocked on my bedroom door. Nina. Someone's looking for you. Hurry up and come out. I pulled the blanket over my head. I'm sleeping. Talk tomorrow. It's Daisy looking for you. I snapped awake, frowning. Why was she here? Daisy stood outside, carrying several beautifully wrapped gifts. Smiling brightly. She brought back some skincare products from abroad. I wanted to give them to you earlier but forgot. As the door closed behind her, Daisy's smile vanished instantly. I didn't bother putting on a fake smile and got straight to the point. You're here for something else, aren't you? Daisy dropped the act and sat down without ceremony, crossing her legs. Her posture was like she was the mistress of this house. Nina. I won't beat around the bush. I know that during the years I was abroad, Ryan and you got very close. But now that I'm back, I'm going to marry him and have children with him. I hope you can keep your distance from him. A question mark slowly formed in my mind. Maybe you're misunderstanding something. Ryan is just my brother. Are you done talking? If so, please leave. I'm going to sleep. We weren't close to begin with, and she was slapping a label on me for no reason, which made me feel uncomfortable. But the next moment, Daisy's face twisted with anger. If it weren't for you, Ryan and I would have successfully gotten back together tonight. What are you pretending? Can't you see Ryan likes you? If it were the previous life, I would have firmly told her that Ryan's heart belonged to me. But this time, I saw clearly that Ryan still cared about Daisy. I'll say it again, Ryan is just my brother. He is now, and he always will be. That relationship will never change. If you like Ryan, then go after him boldly instead of wasting your time on an outsider like me. Daisy was left speechless and couldn't say a word for a long while. In the end, she left the few bags of gifts behind without a word and walked away. But after she left, instead of feeling relieved, I felt even more upset. In the previous life, right after Ryan and I announced our engagement, Daisy came to me privately. I thought she was there to cause trouble. But unexpectedly, she was calm. She took out her phone and showed me their chat history from when they first met until now, page after page. From when they first added each other. The polite greetings. Getting to know each other. Becoming familiar. Their first date. First confession. Becoming a couple. Even after they broke up and Daisy went abroad for years, they kept a seemingly friendly but actually ambiguous contact. She looked into my eyes as they darkened. With a hint of triumph, see? Ryan's true love is me. So what if you marry him? His heart will never be with you. He's marrying you out of responsibility. Not love. But I refused to believe it. Thinking that cold chat records could never replace living together day by day. Little did I know, Daisy's words would prove prophetic. That night, I couldn't sleep well at all and was still awake at dawn. Until my brother knocked on the door outside. Nina. Didn't you say you wanted to find a partner? I have a friend who just came back from abroad. He studies medicine. Same major as you. Want to meet him? Suddenly, I perked up. Sure. Old things must pass for new things to come. Right now, what could distract me was making more friends. Seeing me actively getting ready, my mom sighed that I was really growing up. I smiled dryly and said, thanks to Ryan. My brother's friend was straightforward and quickly set a meeting time. He even asked for my contact info and got my widget to my brother. After adding him, I noticed his profile picture was a black cat. I suddenly felt a kind of affinity since my profile picture was a British shorthair cat. He told me to meet tomorrow at a spicy Hunan restaurant near my place. How did you know I love spicy food? I was pleasantly surprised looking at the restaurant I usually go to. Asked your brother. I couldn't help but like someone who did their homework beforehand. On my way to the date, Ryan kept calling. I hung up impatiently. When I didn't answer, he switched to texting. Nina. Where are you now? I'm coming to find you. We need to talk. Nina. Please reply. I don't want us to become so distant. I immediately turned on Do Not Disturb. Entering the restaurant, I followed the waiter to the table Leo had reserved. From afar, I saw a gentle-looking man wearing glasses sitting by the window. That must be my brother's friend. On the first meeting, Leo was thoughtful and took out a small gift for me. A finely carved wooden music box. Gently winding the key, the box played a pleasant melody music. Bird calls. Flowing water very soothing. Seeing my delighted expression, Leo suddenly said, "I made this. Aren't you a medical student? You can make things like this?" I was amazed. Leo looked shy but proud. His little expressions adorable and lively. Like a child. My grandpa was a carpenter. I learned it from him when I was little. I gave him a thumbs up, admiring this talented guy. During the chattin' meal, Leo made me feel very comfortable. Near the end, I teased him half-jokingly. "This is such an expensive gift for our first meeting. I don't know how to return it. I can neither draw or sing." Leo laughed. "No worries. Next time we meet, that will be my return gift." While we were chatting, a familiar voice suddenly rang out behind me. That voice shattered my good mood instantly. I turned and saw Ryan, looking exhausted, standing before me. "Nina, do you know how hard I've been looking for you?" Ryan had his hands on his knees, breathing heavily, as if he had run here. Seeing Leo sitting opposite me, Ryan immediately frowned deeply. He strode over and roughly pulled me up from my chair. "I've been calling and messaging you non-stop. Why didn't you answer any of them?" "Nina. Really? Not even broken up with me yet? And you're already rushing to go on dates with other men?" Ryan's voice was neither too loud nor too soft but enough to draw attention from nearby tables. I struggled to break free from his painful grip, but he held me tighter. "Ryan. Don't say that. Since you broke up with me on your birthday, I promised you I'm single now, and you have no say over who I date." Ryan was utterly enraged and tried to kiss me in public. I wanted to slap him, but my hands were restrained. At that moment, a strong hand appeared between Ryan and me. Leo easily pushed Ryan aside and shielded me behind him. "Sir. If you keep this up, I'll call the police for sexual harassment." "Who the hell are you?" "I'm talking to my girlfriend. Don't get in my way." Ryan rashly grabbed Leo's collar, trying to throw him aside, but Leo was taller and lifted Ryan with both hands. "Let go of me. This gentleman. With your irritable attitude, it's hard for me to believe you're really her boyfriend. What if you're a bad guy trying to abduct this lady? Everyone. Judge for yourselves, is that possible?" Leo's calm and gentlemanly tone quickly won the approval of the people around us. Seeing he couldn't win, Ryan finally gave up struggling. But just as Leo was about to let him go, Ryan suddenly lunged at Leo. The two of them fell to the ground wrestling. Even the restaurant security couldn't handle them. I expressionlessly dialed 110 to call the police. Then called Daisy. Told her to keep better control of her boyfriend. Unexpectedly, Daisy replied coldly, "From now on, don't call me about Ryan anymore. There's no chance we'll get back together." Before I could respond, she hung up. I stared at the phone in confusion, not understanding what was going on. At the police station, the officers gave them a lecture and soon released them. Just outside, Ryan couldn't help but look at me excitedly again. I sighed helplessly. "Ryan. Please stop harassing me." No sooner had I spoken, Ryan quickly said, "That day I drank too much. It was just a joke. Don't take it to heart." "Nina. I never wanted to get back with Daisy. The one I like is you." I sneered. "You say you like me. So why did you keep our relationship a secret for 5 years? Why did you make me ashamed?" "Ryan. The person you like isn't me, it's yourself." After saying that, I turned and walked away. Ryan immediately followed me like a dog. "I warn you. If you keep following me, I'll call the police." Leo stepped in to block him. Ryan finally had no choice but to stand there watching us leave. What I didn't expect was that Ryan then publicly announced our relationship to the whole world. Early the next morning, I wasn't awake yet when my brother pounded on my door. "Nina. Come out. I have something important to ask you." Sleepy, hadn't felt my session. I opened the door to see Ryan and my brother standing there. I instinctively tried to close the door, but my brother blocked it. "Nina. Ryan confessed everything to me. Don't you have anything to explain?" "I have nothing to explain. We're just sworn siblings. But he told me you two dated for 5 years. What's going on?" Hearing that, I laughed. Fine. We dated for 5 years. Brother. Do you have any proof? Ryan opened his mouth but couldn't say a word. 5 years of dating. Not a single post about me on his social media. Even when there were photos. They were always group shots with 3 people. 5 years of exchanging gifts, mostly related to food and drink. She didn't want any solid evidence left behind. Afraid someone would find out. I had doubts and grievances. But he told me I was too young and he feared my family's opposition. But I'm not a kid anymore. I started dating him at 18. Now I'm 23. It's laughable Ryan couldn't produce any proof. Then he suddenly remembered something. Don't you have photos of us on your phone? Show them to your brother. I did. But the ones we took alone were all deleted. Only group photos from outings remained. My brother, listening to our conversation, began to doubt if Ryan was out of his mind. You say you dated for 5 years. And no one knows? Fine. But how is there not even a shred of proof? Ryan, are you sure you were really dating my sister? Dating like this? Are you even a man? Seeing Ryan still wanted to insist, my brother grew impatient. Mina, explain to your brother. I really dated you for 5 years. Mina, haven't you forgotten the things I said to you? Haven't you forgotten you said you loved me? Ryan's words made me sick. Brother, I think Ryan's still drunk and hasn't sobered up. Please take him away. After that, I blocked all of Ryan's contact info. I'd been clear enough. Any more contact would be harassment. Ryan later came to my house several times, causing a scene until my parents knew and had to chase him away with a broom. They found it strange. He's a good young man. Why does he seem mentally off? Maybe he's having a fight with Daisy and trying to replace her with Mina? Under my brother's persistent questioning, I confessed everything about my 5-year relationship with Ryan. He didn't scold me but gently patted my head. You're such a fool. Why didn't you tell your brother anything? If I'd known Ryan was such a jerk, I would have cut ties with him long ago. Mina, remember this, never keep a man who makes you suffer in a relationship. Just cut him off clean. Got it? I nodded. After the holidays, I returned to work at the hospital. I heard from the nurses at the station that a new doctor had joined the surgery department. Not only was he tall and handsome, but he was also a top graduate from a famous foreign medical university. When they mentioned the doctor's surname was Gu, my heart skipped a beat. I thought things couldn't be that coincidental after all. The world is big. But that morning, there was a banner at the hospital entrance and even a welcome ceremony. I found out the new doctor really was Leo. Amid applause, he saw me and gave me a smile. That smile lasted so long that everyone couldn't help but look in our direction. A colleague nudged me, "Do you know each other?" I quickly lied. "No. It's my first time meeting Drive. Good today." Right then, Leo walked over. "Mina. What a coincidence." He reached out his hand. Everyone whispered. A month later, everyone in the hospital knew Leo was pursuing me. He'd wait for me after work and even bring me midnight snacks during my night shifts. Because of him, I gained 2 pounds. My relationship with Leo became flirtatious, just one step away from breaking the final barrier. But unexpectedly, at the hospital, I saw Ryan again. It had been over 2 months since I last saw him. This time, he was accompanying a girl for a medical visit. When I saw the girl's face, I think fulfilled my sigh. I was surprised. She looked somewhat like me. Ryan noticed me, hesitated, then started walking toward me. I pushed through the crowd and headed for the elevator, trying to get away from him. But I accidentally bumped into someone's embrace. Leo didn't push me away, instead, he held me tighter in a familiar way, drawing attention from others. I turned back toward the closing elevator doors. Through the narrowing gap, I saw Ryan's lonely expression. Inside, I felt nothing. Goodbye, Ryan. From now on, you will no longer be part of my world.